Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled at the foot of some mountains, there once was a young blacksmith named Eli. He lived in a quaint little house with a thatched roof, and smoke curled from its chimney like a dragon's breath. Now, Eli wasn't known for his sharp wit or cunning mind, nor for the tools he crafted, though they were quite good. No, Eli was known for his laugh, a laugh that boomed like a bass drum, echoing through the cobblestone streets, shaking window panes and making the sparrows in the market square take flight. It was a loud, joyful sound that seemed to say the world was good and life was sweet. He worked alongside his father in a forge where the air was thick with coal dust, and the rhythm of hammer on steel was the soundtrack to their lives. His dad, a giant of a man with hands like stone and a voice like rolling thunder, taught Eli the secrets of their ancient trade. They made strong, reliable blades, horseshoes that rang like church bells, and even the bells for the village church, each ring a testament to their skill and their love for their craft. Life was steady and safe, and as sure as sunrise, every morning Eli would wake before the rooster crowed, eager to greet the day with a smile and a song. But one morning, the dawn was dark and the rain was coming down in sheets. It was the kind of day that made you want to stay in bed, pull the blankets over your head and read a book. But Eli had an order to fill, and he was a man of his word. So he got up, shouldered his heavy iron pot filled with molten metal, and started out for the forge. It wasn't long before the rain soaked through his shirt, chilling him to the bone. As he rounded a corner, a slick cobblestone sent his foot flying from the worn wooden clog. He cursed under his breath, lunging out a hand to steady himself. But his arm was full of burning hot iron. It splashed across his shoulder, searing through skin, through pride, through everything he once was. The pain was unbearable. Like a red-hot poker plunged into his flesh, he howled, dropping the iron pot, which shattered on the ground, sending sparks flying like frightened beetles. People came running, their faces etched with concern as they helped him to the village doctor. But even he could do little more than wince and shake his head. 4 days, Eli lay in his bed, wrapped in cool cloths, his arm swollen and aching. Slowly, painfully, he began to heal, but not back to the way he was. The burn left a raw, angry red mark across his shoulder and chest. It throbbed when he moved and ached when he breathed. The doctor told him he might never lift a hammer again. The villagers were sympathetic, bringing food and drink to Eli's house and huddling together in hushed whispers. Such promise, gone in a blink, they said. A blacksmith without his arm is a bird without its wings. Some even shook their heads and said, maybe he was never meant for this. And Eli started to believe them. His laughter died inside him, choked off by the pain and the despair. He couldn't bear to look at his reflection in the well, fearing the sight of the monster he'd become. Useless, dependent, a burden. He spent his days staring at the wall, willing himself to get better. But hope flickered inside him like a candle in the wind. And then one night, around 3 a.m., he heard a knock at his door. Startled, he struggled to sit up. His mother hurried to his side, her face creased with worry. Who could be walking in this weather? She asked, rushing to answer the door. When she returned, her eyes were shining and her lips curved into a smile. Your father, she said, helping him to the window. Outside stood his father, tall and solid as an oak tree, impervious to the wind and the rain. In his arms, he held a lantern aloft, and in the flickering light, Eli saw something. Not a limp, but a purpose in his father's step. Not defeat, but determination in his stance. Without a word, his father entered the room, his eyes fixed on Eli. He walked up to him, placed a small, unshaped lump of steel in front of him and said, the fire that burns you is the same fire that hardens the blade. You are not broken, you're being forged. Then, as silently as he'd come, he was gone, leaving Eli alone with his thoughts and the cold steel in his hands. Eli stared at the steel, then at the scar on his body, and for the first time, he didn't see failure. He saw proof. He had survived the fire. The next morning, Eli rose before sunrise. His arm trembled as he swung his legs over the side of the bed, but he got up anyway. The moment his feet touched the floor, the pain shot through him, screaming for mercy. But his will screamed louder. Slowly, painstakingly, he made his way to the forge, his steps faltering, his hands shaking. The familiar scent of coal and iron hit him like a wave, bringing back memories of joy and accomplishment. But now there was something new, too, a sharp, metallic tang that spoke of his pain. He dipped his head and stepped closer to the forge. The flames danced and crackled, reaching out to him like old friends. Hesitantly, he extended his injured arm and let the warmth envelop him. It wasn't the same as before, but it was a start. He picked up a small piece of metal and tentatively tapped it with a hammer. The blow reverberated through his arm, bringing tears to his eyes. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. With each strike, the pain lessened a fraction, replaced by a strange sense of peace. The metal sang beneath the hammer, telling a story of resilience and rebirth. From that day on, Eli returned to the forge every morning. Each day was harder than the last. Each day brought more pain. But with each sunrise, He grew stronger, forging not just steel, but his spirit. The villagers watched him, first with curiosity, then with admiration. They saw the sweat on his brow, the grit in his jaw, the fire in his eye. And when he finally unveiled his first piece, a small, sturdy knife, a cheer went up that echoed through the mountains. It wasn't a masterpiece, but it was perfect. It was his. Years passed and Eli became the village's finest blacksmith, not because of any special talent, but because of pain. He made tools that lasted generations, weapons that became legendary, and even a suit of armor so strong it was said to be imp. Through it all, the scar on his shoulder remained a constant reminder of his pain and his triumph. But one day, his father passed away, taken suddenly by a sickness that swept through the land. Grief-stricken Eli shut himself in his forge, refusing to eat or speak. When his mother brought him food, he shoved it away. "How can you be hungry when my father is dead?" he cried. She laid a comforting hand on his shoulder, the touch gentle yet firm. "Hunger is a part of life, just as grief is," she said softly. "But we don't have to let either consume us. Your father wouldn't want that." Her words pierced through Eli's haze of sorrow, pulling him back to the world. He looked at his mother, at the forge, at the scar on his shoulder, and he understood. The fire that had hardened him, tempered him, strengthened him. The same fire that had forged him in his darkest hour was the same fire that would help him heal. With newfound resolve, he wiped the tears from his face and picked up a hammer. He walked up to his forge and began to work. And on the day he finished, he etched a message into the hearth, deep and wide enough to be seen by all. "The scar is not where I was broken. It's where I began to heal." For even though the fire had burned him, had tested him, had changed him forever, it was that very same fire that had shown him his true strength, the strength that resided within his wounded soul. So remember, whatever pain you carry, however great your burden may seem, it's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your strength. Let the fire shape you, mold you, make you who you're meant to be. And let the scars you bear serve as reminders that you not only endured, but you emerged stronger on the other side. You rose from the ashes, braver, wiser, more resilient than ever before.